When the sun went down in medieval times, danger multiplied. Armies relied heavily on surprise attacks at night, raiders thrived under darkness, and even the walls of a castle felt less secure when torches burned low. Defending at night wasn't just about having a strong gate or high wall, it was about discipline, foresight, and clever strategies that kept defenders alive while enemies stumbled in the dark. Some of those tactics may sound old, but many still hold value today. Whether you're studying history, thinking about survival situations, or simply interested in the ways people protected themselves before modern technology. Constant watch was the first and most important defense. The strongest wall meant nothing if no one was awake to sound the alarm. Medieval commanders understood that nighttime was when most attacks began because visibility was poor and guards grew careless. To counter this, garrisons maintained strict watch schedules. Guards rotated every few hours, so no man stood too long in the cold. In some fortresses, men on watch were forbidden to sit or lean, ensuring alertness. The lesson still applies today. A community, homestead or camp in a survival situation gains security not from barriers alone, but from reliable human vigilance. Setting up a watch rotation among trusted people, dividing shifts into manageable blocks of 2 or 3 hours, ensures someone is always alert, while others rest. This mirrors the medieval system that made even small garrisons capable of surviving night raids. Noise and light traps exposed intruders before they reached the walls. Medieval defenders often relied on simple but effective tricks to detect stealthy attackers. Dry sticks, pots filled with stones or triplines were scattered near gates and walls. If an enemy tried creeping forward, the noise betrayed them. In some cases, reflective surfaces like polished shields or water troughs were positioned to catch torchlight and reveal movement in the shadows. In practical terms, this principle is still effective. A rural property owner could use gravel paths or scattered brush to create unavoidable noise underfoot, making it hard for someone to approach silently. Even tying tin cans on string across entry points mirrors the medieval tactic of using primitive alarms. The concept is identical. Don't let an intruder get close without being noticed. Fire was controlled carefully to prevent ambush and panic. Light was both a blessing and a danger. Torches, braziers and campfires revealed defenders' positions as clearly as they illuminated the night. Commanders understood this risk and positioned fires carefully. Large flames were kept within walls or in guarded courtyards, not directly on ramparts. Patrols sometimes carried covered lanterns to prevent giving away their movements. At the same time, defenders knew fire could be used offensively. In a sudden raid, they hurled burning pitch or oil-soaked bundles from above, creating both light and chaos. Applied to modern preparedness, this means controlling light discipline at night. In a remote cabin or survival camp, a bright light can reveal location from a distance, while a carefully shielded lantern provides safety without drawing unwanted attention. And just as in medieval warfare, the controlled use of fire or sudden light can disorient intruders while giving defenders the upper hand. Barriers and choke points, they sure slowed enemies in the dark. Medieval strongholds were often designed with layered gates, angled passages and narrow entrances that forced attackers into tight groups. At night, these choke points were especially effective, Even a small defending force could hold a narrow alley or stairway against larger numbers because attackers couldn't see well and had no room to maneuver. Obstacles like spikes, ditches or carts, deliberately placed in likely approach routes, added to the confusion. For someone applying this knowledge today, the takeaway is that barriers buy time. In a homestead or temporary camp, blocking obvious paths of entry with brush piles, fencing or even stacked wood can slow an intruder at night. Narrowing the avenues of approach forces movement into predictable areas, making it easier for defenders to control the situation. It was true for a stone castle and remains true in any defensive setup. One of the least discussed but highly effective medieval night tactics was the counterattack. Instead of waiting passively, commanders sometimes sent small, silent groups outside the walls to ambush raiders before they reached the main defences. Striking first sowed fear, made enemies believe they had walked into a trap, and often ended the attack before it truly began. The key was timing and secrecy. Counterattacks worked only when defenders knew their ground and moved quietly. The principle is timeless. In any defensive situation, the ability to push back at the right moment is more powerful than simply reacting. A modern equivalent could be confronting a threat away from vulnerable areas, whether that's meeting someone at the perimeter instead of letting them reach the home, or securing an outer boundary before danger builds. The medieval counterattack reminds us that defense is not always about hiding behind walls, but about taking control of the night. Medieval life depended on vigilance after dark. Night attacks were feared not because people lacked courage, but because uncertainty ruled the hours after sunset. Through strict watches, noise traps, careful use of fire, choke points and timely counterattacks, defenders created systems that worked for centuries. What makes these tactics fascinating is how relevant they remain. Whether thinking in terms of historical appreciation, studying military tradition, or considering survival strategies, the same rules hold. Awareness, preparation, and control of the environment keep you safe when visibility is low. If you value exploring history not as distant legend, but as lessons with practical meaning, stay with us here on In the Beginning. Subscribe to the channel and share this with others who want to uncover not only how people lived, but how they survived. Medieval defenders didn't have modern tools, yet their strategies carried them through the darkest nights, and they still have something to teach us today.